Okay, welcome. What I'm going to go over now is intermittent fasting and ketogenic, paleo-ketogenic lifestyle, what that looks like. The first thing we're going to start into is go over what intermittent fasting looks like and how do you do it and how do you go about it and why it's so significant that you actually do it if you've been FLoxed or regardless, this is just a natural way to live. So fasting and your insulin levels. So what we're going to talk about here is insulin and how insulin affects your body and what we want to do to try and eliminate the insulin in your body. So high insulin and high glucose levels are what we call pro-inflammatory. So if you have high insulin and high glucose levels, you're in a state of chronic inflammation. If you're in a state of chronic inflammation, being FLoxed, that's not a good thing. So we want to decrease as much insulin and glucose in your body as possible and decrease your overall body inflammation. So how does this work? So let's say you eat a bagel and your glucose goes up. And then when your glucose goes up, your insulin goes up. And now what does insulin do? Insulin attaches to the cell here, and you can see how this door now opens. So now your glucose can get into your cell and start producing energy. Now, the thing with this is insulin is very pro-inflammation. So we don't actually really want to use glucose as a fuel source. We want to be in a ketogenic or use fats as the fuel source. So the difference between using fats or glucose as fuel, using fats would be like driving a Tesla or driving a Prius, very efficient. Glucose is like driving a diesel engine. So if you've been FLoxed, we need to clean up your environment, man, as much as possible and get that as pure and clean as possible. This is why ketogenic diets, paleo-ketogenic diets, and fasting are very critical for your recovery. So what does high insulin and high glucose levels do? It causes all these problems, metabolic syndrome, infection, arthritis, brain problems, breathing problems, gut problems, cancer, joint problems, eye problems, cardiovascular, gum problems, diabetes, obesity. So this is high insulin and high glucose. So clinically, what I've seen when FLoxies have come to me, they come to me with these problems. And also when they've come to me, when I look at their labs, they have high insulin, they have high glucose, and they have high inflammatory markers. So the first step we want to do is let's get the diet in and try and get the diet as anti-inflammatory as possible. Now, this is what happens when we have to do with foods. We have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. This is insulin and how insulin goes up. So if you eat carbohydrates, look at big spike in insulin. Now remember, insulin is pro-inflammation, pro-inflammatory. You eat a bagel, boom, it goes up high. You eat pasta, bam, goes up high. You eat bread, boom, bam, goes up high. If you eat a white potato, boom, goes up high. Now look at protein. It still increases your insulin, but not nearly as much. Now look at fat, hardly anything. So what does this mean? This means a ketogenic, paleo, high fats diet, good healthy fats. I'm not talking, go out and have McDonald's. Good healthy fats is going to decrease your inflammation, decrease glucose, and decrease your insulin spikes and levels. So this is what we want to accomplish through this. Now, how does fasting come into this? Now, there's several benefits of fasting. This right here is autophagy. This is huge. Your body naturally removes cellular debris. What happens is when you're in a fasting state, your body starts to go and eat itself, but it eats the weak links. So mitochondria damage. If you've been FLoxed, you have weak mitochondria. We need to get rid of those mitochondria, those weak little mitochondria, and keep the good live ones there. So fasting goes around Pac-Mans and it's going to eat your weak mitochondria. It's going to eat the debris sitting in the cell. Anything that's just floating around and is weak or doesn't have any use is going to be utilized for energy. So we clean the system. We purge the system of bad material. This is why fasting, intermittent fasting, 24-hour fasting is critical because we want to get rid of that junk, get rid of that debris. Increases stem cell. Raises ketones, which are used for energy. It's a lot cleaner fuel source. It's better for the brain and gut and turns off bad genes. Energy is diverted from digesting food. Like if you're eating 5, 6, 7 times a day, there's a lot of energy that goes to just digest the food. Fasting, we don't digest, we heal. No digest, healing. This is what we want. This is why fasting is so critical. When you got food, there's a lot of energy to just digest it. We want to save those calories, man, for good stuff. Hormone optimization, reset microbe, fixes gut, influences gut genetic expression, and turns off bad genes and turns on good genes. That's what we want to do. Here's some more benefits of intermittent fasting: boosts metabolism, increase your lifespans, decreases oxidative stress, reduces waste. It goes on and on and on. Like, the research is very, very clear. Fasting is critical. Intermittent fasting, 24-hour fasting, 32-hour fasting. It's just something that you have to acquire into your lifestyle. And once you get into it, you're going to be doing fine. It's just getting over the mental kind of plague that plagues people. So here's some labs on insulin. You see the insulin range here, 2 to 19. We want this to be 5. This range is ridiculous. So you can see when this first person started off, it was like at 23. Then we modified our diet, bam, down to 4. Beautiful. Here we have a patient started off at 15, then went up 16. Then we got serious about functional medicine. We got serious about our diet, added some supplements, boom, down to 5. Those are the sweet spots. When your insulin is this low, you have an environment of healing, an environment of calm, an environment of you getting rid of your bad, all the bad stuff, bad mitochondria, any debris that's just kind of sitting around, kind of wasting energy and not being utilized. So this is the conventional thinking: 6 meals a day, which is a horrible thinking process, because every time you eat, what happens in your insulin? It goes up. So you eat breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and then snack. Okay, so your insulin is up, 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 up. You have a little break here, and when you sleep, a little break here. So if your insulin's always up, you're chronically inflamed, and then you only have decreased inflammation a little bit throughout the day. I like this graph as well. This is your sleep. See, this is the insulin levels now here. You see low insulin levels. So 7 hours insulin. You get up, breakfast, snack, coffee, lunch, coffee, snack, dinner. See how it's high? Okay, this is the typical. This is the standard American diet, which is considered SAD, right? So that is a SAD environment. This is why people are gaining weight, heart disease, cancer, chronic inflammation. You were FLoxed. You were put on some kind of fluoroquinolone because you had a problem, right? So the question is, why? What was happening before this, before you got FLoxed? Why was your body not functioning correctly? Did you have GI issues? Did you have fatigue? But I mean, the things are endless here. But at the end of the day, we need to fix your hormone, insulin. So this is what we call a 16-8. So that means here, no eating for 16 hours, and then you can eat in 8 hours. So here you eat at 2, you stop eating at 10. You only eat 8 hours. Then your insulin is low here, insulin low's here. Now, it doesn't have to be at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. It could be at noon to 8, right? So that's an 8-hour window as well. So we want to give yourself a break. Right now here, there's multiple ways that you can do that. You can see lunch, and then you have a snack, and then dinner, and then snack. Okay, so this right here is strictly just an 8-hour window. There's other techniques, and this is the technique that I subscribe to, and that is only eating twice a day, no snacking, right? And look at this graph. You'll see why visually this is so critical. So the red is sugar, and then the blue is insulin. Now I ate here, and then, I should say right here, I ate here, right? This line here, insulin goes up. And then the blue line, or glucose goes up as the red line. So glucose goes up, and you see how insulin goes up too. I eat here, and then red line, glucose goes up and insulin goes up. Now look at the lag time here. Okay, you see how insulin stays elevated here? So the key to this is glucose goes up quickly and then down quickly. Insulin's not like that. Insulin slowly goes up and then it slowly goes down. So what happens is when you're eating all these meals throughout the day, like here, right, this window here, you have high insulin levels throughout the whole day. Here, you eat twice, insulin can dip down more. So this is what I subscribe to. I eat twice a day and I don't snack. Now, I am human. Sometimes I do snack. Sometimes I lose it. You are forgiven, right? I'm going to forgive you. All right, forgive yourself. If you fall off the wagon, get back on the wagon and get going. Now you have the knowledge. Now you have the power to move forward. So that's one technique. Here's another one. You can eat breakfast, you can eat lunch, you can eat dinner. No snacking, right? So here's insulin, and then here's fat loss. Okay, this is kind of like talk about fat loss or fat accumulation. But at the end of the day, fasting does all those things, right, that we went over. It decreases your mitochondria, gets rid of the bad guys, and does all those different things here. So this is if you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, if this is the easiest model for you, you do this to start with. Then maybe you can do this the 2 times a day, right? So you got to work on a gradient. This is what I do, 8 hours here. So I would eat like here, and I would eat here. So I eat twice a day. Now look at this, fat burning, or this is the insulin levels, high here, low. So you want this to be as low as possible. Now, some people I recommend doing a 24-hour fast, so they only eat 1 time per week. If you have insulin problems, if you're diabetic, if you're pre-diabetic, there's a lot of reasons why you can do 24-hour fasting. And in reality, 100 years ago, or let's say 500 years ago, people were fasting all the time. They were starving, right? I mean, they didn't have any choice. There wasn't any food going around. So now in our society, we have food all the time. You're eating all the time. So some people need to do a 24-hour fast. Sometimes I put people on a 36-hour fast or a 48-hour fast. Start with simple, just 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, no snacking. Then go to the next gradient. Then do breakfast or do lunch and then do dinner, just 2 meals a day. And then try 24-hour fasting. See how that goes. You're going to see when you get acclimated to this, it cleans up your diet and you just feel much better. Now, here's this graph again. So the black is glucose. You see how glucose goes up, down, and you can see how insulin stays elevated. What we really want to try and do here is normalize everything so the glucose and the insulin maintains a calm level throughout the body. Okay, so this is what I'm going to end on this. This is going to be a 2 or 3 part series on this. I try and make these videos a little short. So look at that. There's also a good book out there called the Obesity Code, which is a very good book, and he goes over these concepts as well. So take care. Bye-bye.